Hi everyone, and welcome back to Zero to Hero, episode 3 this time. And before we even get started, I just want to say thank you so much. I hit 1,000 subscribers from the last video, which is absolutely insane, and I can't comprehend it at all. But thank you so much for liking it and commenting and just in general interacting with my content. Again, thank you so much. But man, what a week this has been. As you probably read in the title, we already got KSM. That's in the house, right? We had an insane push week this week. So yeah, I can't wait to show you. Let's just get right into it. So the first thing I checked this week was simply just what weekly we had. And this week we have a time walking week, which is great, you know. That was also time walking 2 weeks ago, but hey, I'm right at the edge of when it's usable. There's still some few pieces that I can use from this chest that I get out of here. The next thing we check up is of course our vault. And here we get a hero shoulder, a weapon, and some hands or gloves or whatever you want to call it. Now I was a little bit confused of not confused, but conflicted of what I should get here, because I was considering getting the shoulders simply just because my eye level was, pretty low on my shoulders, but it was tier set already. I did end up picking up the weapon simply just because I thought that, it had time strike, it looked cool, and having a weapon that you can upgrade all the way up to 480 is a really great thing to have. So I thought it was a great investment, and so I didn't have to craft an entire new weapon. Now I just have one. But yeah, going into time walking, something absolutely amazing happened. I could not believe this. I have been trying to get this mount since Cataclysm basically has come out, and here it is, finally. This mount looks so incredibly cool. I cannot wait for Dynamic Flight to come out, just so I can fly around on this dragon. No. Now doing the time walking actually pushed us up a little bit in eye level, so we got to 444 and I got a bag from it. It's honestly a little bit disappointing. I mean, it's an eye level upgrade, but not even enough to bump up our actual eye level. So yeah, I mean, it's still worth it to do it, but it is what it is. But of course, it's a new week. We need a new transmog. This is the first thing I'm gonna change my transmog throughout this week. But this is the one I went with for the first time, for the first couple of days. I do like it. It's the PvP tier set from. I don't even remember what raid it is. Is it on Taurus? It's from Legion, definitely. I think it's on Taurus. So yeah, go right into 11 Dark Heart Frigate, and I absolutely screw up the skip right here. It's all good, you just take a little bit extra percentage. It's not really that deadly of a pull. I mean, the tigers and the spider can definitely hurt. Here I was really scared that I pulled extra, just because if you saw that beam, they were transferring onto the cat stair or whatever. I was really sure that I was gonna pull that, but luckily I didn't. And here, by the way, I just want to really showcase, this is what I love my tanking, when you just constantly are kiting, or not kiting, but constantly chain pulling, right? You're just always in combat, and you just always melting things down as you move closer and closer to wherever you are going. But the run goes really smoothly, not being really to write home about or anything. We get some good score out of it, and we get a little bit of warm up on it. Oh, and of course we get really great gear. Look at this, all the way from 2 eye levels going up just from 1 ring. So absolutely wonderful. Now one thing I like to do is I like to fill out the holes. So instead of pushing up a key as high as you can, that I'm gonna do that later, gonna push my own key, I like to fill out those holes, fill out the gaps, fill out the dungeons that I'm really low eye level up, and getting them up. So I like to target specific dungeons. So I end up going into a Throne of the Tides here. And let me tell you, this Throne of the Tides is really gonna highlight one of my biggest pet peeves. And I'm actually I think I am a little bit tilted. It can kind of shows. So what happens is I asked the hunter to use Bloodlust on the first pull right here, and he doesn't. And my pet peeve is that, it's basically the lack of communication. Like that's like really what's tilting me, right? Because like, yeah, if you, I'm fully aware that like, as you clearly can see here, using Bloodlust does not matter on an 11, right? We are fine either way. It's simply just, you know, to save a little bit of time, go a little bit faster to the right places. So he actually ends up using Bloodlust on the first boss, and this is where I get a little bit tilted because there's been zero communication from his side. And I've been like asking him, like, hey, do you actually have Bloodlust, like a BL pet? And here I'm like, oh, you actually do have one. Why are people like this? and I definitely thought that those two comments were a little bit too, I was afraid they were a little bit too mean, because I want the guy to, you know, learn like when to use it. So I'm trying to explain here that like, hey Hunter, like, you know, next time save it for the second boss, because the first is kind of like a waste. And the actually good ending here is right on the last boss, he asked us, where do you want Bloodlust? Like, do you want Bloodlust at pull? I'm like, yes, thank you, please, open communication. That's all I want. Like, I don't care that you could completely use it in the wrong point or like whatever, just please communicate with me. I get so tilted when people are just, when I ask, you know, people a question and I just get zero response, and then just people just throw in the most random ass Bloodlust you can ever see. So we continue into an 11 Waycrest mana, just again to fill up the some score like on some keys that we are missing. Actually, funny enough, the healer and the warlock here are completely the same from the last key. I was not aware, I just joined a random key. But yeah, they are actually the same people, and we are gonna have a Bloodlust problem too here, for some reason. But before we get into that whole Bloodlust issue once again, you can actually see really here how comfortable I'm getting on the monk. I'm still, I don't know if I'm under gear at this point, to be honest. I'm 444, I believe, or 446 going into an 11. I think that's pretty, what's that word? Like, that's like, you know, kind of like what it's meant to, right? Like, you are in a pretty good spot. You're not over gearing it and you're not under gearing it. It's kind of like where you are meant to be. At least I think so. You can definitely see how comfortable I'm getting here. The monk is really rewarding when you are just pulling extra, and that's why I'm going a lot bigger than I might necessarily would want to do on other tanks, because, you know, the one kind of just works. The more you stagger, the more you can, like, you know, purify. The more you purify, the more damage you can do. Like, it goes like in a circle. I know everyone, like, for example, like the DH also just, you know, really excels at high AoE targets and scales really well. But for the Demon Hunter, that's more damage-wise. Whereas the Monk, it kind of feel like that's like the whole package right here. One thing I can definitely improve on, because you can see out here that poisons are going off on my teammates, and I'm just not aware of that at all. It's kind of one of those things when you switch to a new class, like stuff like that. There's a lot of utility that you're not really kind of like used to look after. And you can see right there, I do actually end up dispelling the priest, which, no, I'm sorry, not the priest, the druid. But yeah, definitely something I can do better on. But here I am trying to get our mage to Bloodlust, and nothing happens. So I kind of just, you know, I type out here mage 2 question marks. And at this point I'm like, okay, if he's not gonna answer, then there's nothing really here. So after the boss fight, the warlock also says, you know, because that's when I realized that when he was from the last group. But the mage does actually end up bloodlusting the second boss. I you know, trying to communicate it to him actually did work out. That's great. Going in here in Waycrest Manor, you know how it is. You know how, you know, you're trying to get people to stand outside. I'm trying to ping them like, hey, don't come in here, because I barely have aggro on it. I just go in, I tap things, and then I run out. So if people start doing DPS or anything, they will die, and there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I want to do about it, because if I go in and try to save that, like, that will just completely flop. Like, you know, people will be not sure if they should go in and out and stuff like that. So just stay out there. This is actually the reason why I have, like, keybinded these different markers and stuff like that, which is like a huge, I have it on my mouse wheel. So I can, like, really quickly put down a marker. This was before the pinging system, but I still use the markers, and I think it's really generally a really good life hack to, when you're playing as a tank, to have markers keybind, because you just want to really sometimes just pinpoint where you want to go, like what you want to do. I don't know what it is about this week, but I am going to swim in weapons for some reason. I don't know why Blizzard was like, this happens, right? Sometimes you just don't see a weapon, for multiple weeks, and you get 1 week and it's like, oh, here's 7 weapons that you don't need, which is always really great. So we do end up going into here, bumping up our eye level. What do I hit? Do I hit 450 here? Or is that not yet? I don't think that's yet. No. Okay. 447. That's where we are. So we're getting up there, right? We're climbing the eye level, which is really what I feel like is holding us back. And as I mentioned before, there are definitely probably quicker ways to get eye level, but at this where I'm at right now, it's basically Mythic Plus and you know, upgrading it through this system right here. That's basically where I'm gonna get most of my loot. I also noticed they have 1545, so we are. I was really not sure if I was able to get KSM this week because I was like, you know, 500 is, you know, sure I do have some lower keys, but it is like, it does require some keys. But what else can you do but just, you know, jump right into it? Oh yeah, this Everbloom was super interesting actually. So this is what I want to talk about, like with like a tanking and like doing tips here. So the whole conversation we're having right now is I load in and the healer is like save Bloodlust for first boss. And usually I want Bloodlust on the first pack right here. You know, I know it's tyrannical, but still the first boss is kind of like meh. And this pack is kind of big, so you can, like, you know, if you have Bloodlust, you can just, you know, keep that going into the next pull on tyrannical, and, you know, I would still use this. But the healer is kind of persistent, so I'm like asking him, do you still want the big pull? Yes, he does. It's still fine. We're doing fine. But like my whole point of this is, like, you know, it's all about adaptation, right? You improvise a little bit, because what's gonna happen is our dear healer is actually gonna pull for me. And it's kind of a little bit about, like, it's not really my fault, but something I could do better is I wanted to go over here to take this pack, right, for percentage, because I want to skip the mages. And I don't think the healer is quite aware of that, and I think he just wants this tree bus, so I pick it up and I go into this pack. Didn't realize that those 3 other guys are gonna pull as well. Looking back at it, I can definitely see it now. Why did I do that? But I didn't think it was worth taking this tree guy on his own. But looking back at it, this is definitely a dangerous pull. We do actually survive it, and pretty healthily actually, now looking at it. So our heal is definitely pumping. But here I am trying to explain him that, like, you know, I did not want the tree. I thought I had a better route in mind, and he actually does end up saying sorry, which, you know, is really nice. He could have just been like, you know, shut up, man, like, I don't care about you, but he actually does end up, you know, saying sorry for pulling it, which is fine, but it's all about, you know, improvising sometimes in these as a tank. And as I'm gonna mention, like, we're gonna show you later, the big thing here, the big trouble is I'm honestly lost on the math now, on the percentage of, like, how much I need. Usually, you know, I'm not really that big of a math guy, so I'm not just gonna sit there and calculate anything here, like, on the fly. No way. I'm trying to go my normal run as much, but I do know that I need to skip something, but I'm not sure how much to skip. So what do you do in that situation? What do you do when you don't actually have, or your route, what do you do if you don't have a route completely planned out, or your route gets, like, you know, compromised in some other way? And this might gonna sound stupid, but you just have to follow your gut feeling. I was reaching this point right here. I mean, you can see how much, like, you know, I skipped like what, 3 packs on this side right here, and I had this gut feeling that, you know, I'm gonna need more percentage if I want to skip, right? So I just do that. I have this gut feeling, I'm not sure, but I just say to my team, like, okay, I'm gonna go back, get some percentage, and come back. And that's what we do, and it actually turns out to be absolutely perfect. As you can see here, we're done with the 3rd boss and the 2nd boss, of course. Going into picking up the 3 here that we need. We have a little bit more percentage than I normally do. Normally I have to take like 4 or 5 of these guys here. But yeah, it's honestly a little bit about gut feeling, which comes again from, like, experience and stuff like that. So the more you play, the more you, like, you know, figure this stuff out. But don't be afraid to, like, improvise a little bit. Just you know, if you're worried about what your group will say, communicate it. Communicating that, like, guys, I'm actually lost right now, percentage, like, what do I do? Because then people, you know, if they have a solution for you, they'll just jump in and give you that solution, right? If they don't, they're not gonna say anything, and then, you know, they can't really, you know, blame you. And by blaming you, I mean they can't, you know, just throw it on you and call you a bad tank if they don't have the answer themselves, right? Then you can kind of just lead on. But yeah, the Everbloom, it went perfectly. Yeah, it did not end. It did not go perfectly, but it ended up going really well. Going into 14 Black Rock Hold, and of course we have a little dance party every time we have 30 seconds RP, because what else would you do in this time? Go in here and I do a mistake that I do on every single tank, every single season, whatever. I forget to press my cooldowns. I go in, I use Magic Diffuse going into this, and I just kind of forgot that, hey, that actually runs out and I should probably like alternate it with something else when that like goes out. But I don't, and I just completely hug the floor, right? Going back, you know, picking up, luckily we have a mage who throws down a like really good Ring of Frost that like keeps all the spiders closed up, which is really great. One thing it is, like, here it's the first time I actually get to experience with bursting this week. And I actually noticed we have a priest. And looking back at it here, I actually did not really see if he actually did a lot of the... I don't think he did a lot of mass dispel. So I'm actually going to ask him here, because I'm like, I can pull really, really big, but I'm worried about the bursting, right? So I'm asking him, do you have mass dispel off cooldown? Like, can I go big? But there's like no answer again whatsoever, which, oh my god, just please communicate with me. I'm really trying. Just please tell me if I can do it. So I end up being like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna go it, and if we're gonna die, we're gonna die, but this is gonna be fun. Yeah, like, our healer was struggling, but look at this guy. Oh, really great healer. As I said, as assuming here and him dying, but you know, we end up like two-chesting it, which is really cool. But bursting is definitely... Oh, is this... Yeah, fucking another weapon, right? It looks cool, but what am I supposed to use with it? Yeah, a 16. Like, now I'm getting really comfortable. I'm still under 450, by the way. Like, I'm still 447 or something like that. And I am getting absolutely smacked around. By this boss specifically, it's really hurtful. You can see in my health bar, I'm just like flying all over the place. And I actually do end up like, you know, dying here simply because like I kind of run out of cooldowns. But looking back at it, I also just kind of have some misusage of my cooldowns, which, you know. Oh, and oh, dear Waller gets sucked back up. He thought he could get away through his gates, but yeah, clearly not. But this fight was really rough. So as I said before, I had some like small miscalculation or misusage of my defensive cooldowns, which on this difficulty, not necessarily that a 16 is difficult, but like as I'm so undergeared for a 16, those small mistakes will lead up to like, you know, dying. And it's really unfortunately because, you know, I think he's like at 3% when the hunter gets, you know, smacked. So meaning we have to do it all over again. And it was really demotivating because I was like, am I actually too low geared for this? Like, can I actually do it? But we end up actually going back without blood loss, which I was even more worried about, and killing it. But it really also just wasn't the boss. Like you can see here in these packs that I am getting absolutely smacked around, and I even tell the healer, I'm like, you know, wow, these guys like really hurt, and the healer's like, yep, they really do hurt you. I'm really sorry for like stressing out all the healers. You know, if we ever have another huge healer, like when everyone is critting, then yeah, you can kind of just put the blame on me. Love when the boss flies over to catch the healer. This is always a really fun pull. I really want to, you know, pull it on the boss, but if I wasn't this undergeared and also it wasn't bursting, because bursting is always really fun, then I would probably have pulled it on the boss. Now this is also just a huge shame. We would have timed it if we didn't wipe here. Unfortunately, you know, our healer and one of our DPSs goes down, which is kind of just a game over, specifically, like, especially if our healer goes down, right? Like, that we need it. I was actually sure that we're gonna wipe it here, but we do end up using all our battle reses and getting our healer and our warlock up. So I actually, and you know, the boss is like at, you know, 40%, right? So I was thinking that we could probably do this, right? Maybe even in time. But, you know, sometimes that's just not how it's supposed to go. So yeah, we have to go again. Luckily, no one was tilted or really, I mean, maybe they were, but they weren't letting us know in the chat. No one left or anything. We end up finishing it, and I even, you know, called out that I was like, you know, if I didn't, you know, misplay on the first boss, if I didn't wipe there, then we would have timed it. So you can also like flip it around and like, you know, yeah, look at it, look at your own. Like, what can you improve, right? Because there's nothing here from this boss, you know, from people, DPSers going into the spiders that I will learn from. The only thing I can learn from is focusing on what happened at the first boss. Like, where did I cause the wipe, you know? Next dungeon we go into is a 13 Rise, which, yeah, we end up 2-chesting, and we end up hitting 1700 score, which means that KSM is getting like kind of realistically close, maybe. I was still pretty unsure if I could actually pulled it off in this week at this point. But it's actually not even the most important part, because actually here in this Rise, we end up getting a huge eye level upgrade. But actually nothing drops from, it's like for us. And this is where my hands are starting to get sweaty, because as soon as some people are asking roll, I have the worst luck. But look at this. Oh, oh, hell yeah. So we actually end up getting the mirror, which is, from my understanding, a pretty good trinket, because it's like, it buffs your prime, like the secondary stat that you have the most of, which in my case will be critical strike, which I use to get increased healing and like all that shebang. So it's like a really, really great trinket to get, really fun, really a huge eye level upgrade. But yeah, here we are like pushing my own key. So instead of, since we didn't time the Azal'Dazar, I actually end up getting the 15 Weight Crest mana. And what I want to talk about is basically this second boss. This second boss is the most tank heavy. Like, this is where you basically run the show, right? So you are the one to decide when you want to remove the stacks or not. If you're not aware, the way this boss works is that he's gonna increase like getting stacks on him. You can see it here on the right on my screen here. He has like, what is that, 17 stacks at this point, 18. And the more stacks you get, the more damage he does. At some point, he's just gonna one-shot you. The way you clear it is basically by putting him into this fire, and then he's gonna like do a bunch of AoE damage, you know, from like how many stacks he has. So there is a perfect balance of like when you want to remove the stacks and when you not want to, like when it's too early or when it's too late. My rule of thumb is basically every other thorn right here, as you see. So this is the first one, and then I'm gonna wait until he casts a second thorn, and right after that's been cleared, that's when I clear him. Like, I clear the debuffs. It's usually when he's around those like 18 to 21 kind of stacks. You don't really want to go too much over 20 in my experience, but you know, use your own. This is definitely one of those bosses where it is very like recommended to use a cooldown on on like the very last like percentage, if you want to like push the like how like if you want to like delay how much you want to clear, like you don't really want to clear right when he's like at 5% health, because then you know there's going to be a ton of raid damage. The healer has to spend time healing everything up, maybe use the cooldown. Sometimes it's better just for you to use the cooldown at the end here. That's definitely something I would recommend. But yeah, we go through it. 15, we 2-chested, which is awesome. Again, as I said before, really getting comfortable on the monk. Also just like getting into the rhythm of it all, and like just having a blast on the monk, honestly. It's really one of the more like the most fun tanks that you can play. And then we have an Everbloom 17 that we're gonna try and get into, which I really wasn't sure we'll be able to, but if you look at how many people are setting up and like their score and everything, you can see that like there are different brackets here, like different key levels that you kind of can get a little bit carried in. So I use this to not only, first of all, I changed my transmog, right? Rate this. Like, look how cool this is, right? With the pull arm here at the back and everything. Great transmog in my own opinion. I do some modifications on it, but you'll see later on. I was kind of like just getting a little bit. I was like, I'm probably gonna get carried. You know, I want to get it on mine, so I have it like in my vault next week, like get some good score. But honestly, I think I carried myself pretty well here. You can definitely see that, you know, my health and my stacker is it's kind of flying all over the place, and I really needed to have my tongue, like, you know, it's just like being like really focused up and like, you know, making sure that I'm using all my cooldowns at the same time, at the perfect time and stuff like that, and trying to like delay a little bit, right? As I mentioned like before in my previous video about like saving one of those brews, so like if you like really are hitting like red stagger, that like you have something to purify, so you're not just standing there without anything at all. And as you can see, I'm basically permanently in red stacker, just constantly purifying as soon as I get it off cooldown, using the shield right after, which with my tier set actually absorbs some of the incoming stacker after that, which is really beneficial. I really cannot like sleep on that enough. Like that is, or like emphasize that enough. That is such a good tier set. Also, it helps to be a monk, so you can like dispel the poison going on here, because that is definitely a tank buster. It will definitely destroy your tank going into that. Going into the Ancient Protectors here, one thing I just want to point out from like the tank perspective, of course you need to, you know, kick everything and kill this, what is this guy called? Teller. But one thing about this, like right here, this tank buster, that you want, like, you know, you get charged at, and then you get like leave a pool right under you. What I like to do from a tank perspective is, you know, make sure that wherever you decide to go, which is, you know, away from the bosses that our shaman here is not doing, is to make sure that you are like consistent in doing it, right? When it comes to like tanking and like doing it, one of the best things that you can be, or like, you know, do for your party and for your success in this group or in a group, is basically just be like as readable as you can. And by that I mean, like, you know, that no one is ever unsure of where you're gonna go. So I've like decided, like, oh, I'm always going into this corner right here, over here. You can see I'm always going over here. Meaning that everyone knows after like maybe 2 or 3 times that like, that's my corner. Like, that's where I'm going. Everyone else can just, you know, decide somewhere else. Being a tank, like being a tank that's easily readable, like so people can just know what's going on, is such huge benefit, right? For playing. So kind of make sure that like what you're doing is consistent if you want like half a space or half a plus. Again, you can always ping and do whatever, but yeah, I just want to point out that being consistent is a really great thing if you're playing a tank. Try to see your own gameplay through others' perspective, if that makes sense. But yeah, we actually end up 2-chesting a 17 as barely, I think I'm 450 at this point. So, and getting like 77% a score, I'm sorry, and getting another trinket. Not so good, I don't know, it's not such a great idea to have like 2 unused trinkets. Simply just because, you know, it's, it kind of can mess up the cooldowns of each other, because like that's the whole 30 seconds, you can't use them. And also, I mean, mastery is good. on Brewmaster. It kind of like buffs up your damage. Oh yeah, and our dear healer gives us like some gloves right here, which is awesome. Using that to get into tier set. But yeah, the mastery thing whole is like it buffs up your damage, but also just it increases your dodge chance whenever you use your different kicks and stuff like that, which is, I mean, it's beneficial. It's not, I'm not sitting here and telling you the mastery is bad in any way. Like you can kind of not go wrong with mastery, but in the same way, it's that there are definitely other tanks that just have better masteries. Or mastery just works kind of better with the that class, right? Like for example with Druid, where the masters just increase their max health and like their healing and all that. Those like have really good masteries. We do this fall and we get a huge amount of score from it, because like before this we had timed it on like a 7 or something like that. And this is gonna be huge. Our dear healer is giving us a chest, which is like the last piece that we are missing. And you can see right here, I go directly from 456 all the way to like 461. Which honestly, to kind of just leaves out at a point where like I'm feeling really comfortable going in. Like every gear is like an upgrade right here, but you know, I'm really at a point now where I can feel open to just push, just go crazy. Right here, I just also want to show you, like, if you want to do what I'm doing, like, you know, I have all these macros, so I don't have to, like, double click when I want to fold out, like, different brews or, like, exploding keg and stuff like that. What I do is I make this macros you can see here on your screen. And basically it just means that, you know, it's just a mouse over. So it lands where your mouse is, and, like, in combat, meaning that instead of having to click, like, 2 times and, like, before you actually cast it, it's just instant. Really beneficial. I have it for like almost everything on my classes, and yeah, just wanted to showcase how I make these macros. And now with that done, it's time to make those alterations to my transmog. Now check this out. I am so in love with this helmet that I got from the Emerald Dream. I just had no idea where to like put it together, and I kind of think it works with this like back right here and this armor piece. And then I just put in the top right from the Emerald Dream because I was like, hey, I missed some colors. Going into this 17 Waycrest mana, we've been through Waycrest mana a ton this week, so yeah, I'm feeling extremely comfortable in here. Like I know where I want. Only problem is here that, you know, it's kind of sometimes a little bit awkward with this patrol. Usually it fits perfectly, but sometimes if you're a little bit faster, a little bit slower, it can kind of like F it up. But here people are so nice, they just wait for me, because usually in parks people are just, you know, follow me up the stairs even though I'm pinging that like, hey, I'm coming back and like all that kind of stuff. But they just completely understood and just know that I was like coming. So that turned this poll into like really easy. I don't have to like focus too much about like picking up aggro or stuff like that. The only thing here, like this week for bursting, split up the dogs. I split up this pack, but there's another one that I pulled with the foreign caster, whatever she's called. And I should honestly just have not. I should just have like taking the dogs right there on its own and just taking those extra seconds slower, because all of these mobs give bursting stacks, which, you know, it's not really that much fun. It's like, how many mobs are here? There are like, you know, 9 or 10 mobs, I think. No, maybe not. Maybe it's 7, 8, something like that. But you can see our entire party, our healer instantly dies. Our druid managed to survive it. But then, of course, he has a tank that does not pay attention to when he can dispel. And you can see right here, I notice it, and he's dead. So yeah, working on knowing what I can do, how I can help my team with like dispels and stuff like that. I do generally like to go in here, like you have these 2 packs here. I go into this inside here and just take the first couple of packs with them. Usually, if you're aware of like if you just focus down on the foreign caster, I still don't remember what she's called. You can you just make sure that she's kicked, because she's gonna do the most amount of damage, and you save maybe an AoE kick for everything else, then you should be fine. And then yeah, you know, this boss, as I mentioned before, it's all about the tank. I was actually, you know, contemplating if I should like, you know, go in and use Bloodlust on it, but then our shaman actually says, hey, why don't you wait? Why don't we just go in and clear this until we have bloodlust? And we have like 4 minutes, which is like, it seemed like such a long time that I was like, I'm pretty sure we can clear this entire room because we also had pretty good damage. I'm pretty sure we can clear this entire like area and still not have time, like bloodlust will still not be up. But anyways, you know, so that's why I was like, you know, I'm just gonna do the boss. But then after, when the shaman asked, I was like, yeah, you know what, sure, whatever. We can just clear everything and then see how much is left, and then we can do the pig boss first if that's like what we really want. Oh, and something completely unrelated that I completely forgot to mention. In my last video, I mentioned that the paralysis is like on a shorter range than the Demon Hunter's imprisonment, which a lot of you guys corrected me saying that no, it's the same range, and I even googled it, and you're absolutely correct. I just want to point out what my mistake there was. So on my Demon Hunter, I have it keybind on Alt W, and on Alt W I use my movement speed here on my monk because, you know, I'm pressing W always. It's easier to press Alt, so I move my paralysis to AQ, Alt Q, I mean. Which means that, you know, I thought it was the shortest range because I was just keep hitting Alt W and not realizing why it didn't work. So I was hitting the wrong button. So yeah, this is like the last pack before the pig boss is like, you know, free to like engage on. And as you can see, we have still like 50 seconds before we have bloodlust, which is kind of, I know it's a tyrannical, so because we could potentially still go on the boss and just bloodlust a minute later. But I was thinking, you know what? There is still this room right here. We might as well just go in, take all that cleared, and then we have like 10 seconds going on to the boss, meaning that we get to pop bloodlust with all our cooldowns available, which is such a huge damage increase, right? Instead of bloodlusting when you like a minute after you used your cooldowns. Now this area is actually super dangerous. There's a lot of casters. Usually you can get away with doing this on a lower fortified or just a tyrannical key, but higher fortified, and you definitely want to split these packs up. Because not only is there a lot of damage going out through like spell damage, meaning it's gonna like, you know, bypass almost all the armor and all that stuff, so it's gonna hurt a lot. You also have these witches that's gonna throw down these runes where they just take 50% like damage decrease by standing in it. So you also kind of needs to save up some kicks for getting them out of there as quickly as possible, so you can, you know, kill them. So it is like kind of convoluted pull right here. I would definitely recommend splitting it up. We do actually here it goes fine, and I've done this like the whole week, just pulling everything, but also because it's anything under 17. I think if I go into the 20s, when I go into the 20s, I think I'm going to like split it up. I think it's better just to take those extra seconds and be safe rather than to, you know, risk maybe not even wiping, but just risking like have 2 or 3 deaths, right? But yeah, easy clap. We get that 2 chests at that 17. Waker's Manor, I'm pretty sure I'm done for Waker's Manor for this week, but you can see I'm like, you know, we're getting a lot of score. We're getting like really up there. Oh, I know, yeah, we do actually end up getting a belt, which, yay. Here I just want to like, you know, showcase some of the, like, it can, when you push up a little bit higher, like a little bit above your gear score, you can, it can take some time even for a tank, but we do actually get invited to this 16 Dark Heart Thicket, which something absolutely amazing happens that I never thought would actually happen. I noticed that this healer, this priest here, is like looking at me, and then I get a whisper from him. And he's like, hey, do you have a YouTube? And I can't believe I actually got recognized in the game. That's so insane. So, you know, shout out to Declan, I think your name is pronounced. Probably not, but he was such a good sport about this. Honestly, this run was really fun. We do actually have some, like, so that all the DPSers are like pre-mates, and then me and the healer are just 2 randoms. And what's gonna happen here is actually we are gonna like almost pull the entire room, like body pull it. As you can see here, someone goes on the side. and then continues going back, and I'm trying here to pick everything up, and the healer is like on me, and also you can see he's dying as well. So it was kind of stressful at this moment, but we actually also gonna end up pulling behind us, which definitely not gonna help our situation. But of course, the mage ends up saying hey, that he's sorry, it was his or her mistake. And honestly, there's no hard feelings at all. I have this mentality that no one body pulls on purpose. It's an accident all the time. So if you want to yell at them for what's gonna help in any situation to yell at them? Everything I ever do, even if I actually get annoyed by it, I don't get me wrong, I'm a human being. I get annoyed by people doing mistakes and stuff like that. All I always write is this: hey, it's all good, mate. Because it relaxes them. And no, don't get me wrong, I also do actually get my revenge on the mage. So I get a little bit out of it. But honestly, this whole positivity thing is not just for everyone else. It's personally for me as well, because it's telling people that hey, it's okay, don't worry about it, we're fine. It relaxes them, meaning that they are less likely to do other mistakes, right? Instead of I was just on their ass, that will be they will be all focused up and worried about their own mistakes, not really focusing on the games, all that kind of stuff. I was definitely nervous for this boss because he smacks, and we are on a tyrannical, and it's a little bit higher than I'm usually doing, and you can see every single time that he's grabbing me, I am getting my, well, I don't want to swear here too much, but I'm definitely getting something kicked in, right? That I don't want to get kicked in. And I actually end up dying here, but our, I believe that, our druid is so quick with the battle rest. He probably saw me losing a lot of health. So that was great save. We probably could have been able to deal with him with me that. I think he was a 3% less, but really good battle rest right there. Here I am doing an absolutely terrible pull. It's something I'm missing a lot. This is a pull I do on my Demon Hunter because I can use Sigil of Silence and just group everything up. And I just can't do that on any other tank, and I just kind of really miss it. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it because hey, I can survive it. We're gonna have our druid dying here, and just in general, this is gonna take forever because everything is just so far ahead. And here's another thing, I did notice that we were kind of short on kicks usually throughout this dungeon. So this is proof on proof on proof that this pull was not a good idea, and I kept doing it anyways. And people dying from it, we lost time. So I also just straight up just pulled that, hey, this is my bad. That's a bad pull. And I probably won't do that again unless I am aware that people are kicking everything and all the time, right? If I have a group that's really, really high on kicks, then maybe I can do that. But anything else, no, I'm not gonna do that from now on. But yeah, we actually end up getting Keystone Hero on that run. The run that I got recognized by the healer is the run that we got Keystone Hero on. What an absolute joy. And as you can see, we still have an 11. So we do still have actually some score to pull on the next, next Tyrannical. And also, if you just look at our Fortified, we have a lot of score that we can get up to. It would be great if I could time everything on a 17 next week. I'm not really setting in stone as a perfect goal, but that's something I'm trying to aim at, right? 16, 17s, that's where I kind of want to go at, and make sure that everything is timed at, and then see where I'm from that. I have a really great vault for next week. I'm gonna be really big eye level upgrades, which is awesome. Can't wait for that. And I don't even remember what eye level I was when I started this week. I think it was around 440, right? And now I'm 460, 62, 63, which I'm so much luck, everything dropping. And I'm actually really grateful that it dropped this week when I'm doing higher keys, rather than everything's dropping when it's lower keys and I had to replace it anyway. So really, really beneficial run, really, really great. Week here. really pushed through, got a lot of score, got a lot of eye level, and I'm just pumped to play the monk. I'm just pumped to play the monk. Can't wait for next week, can't wait to push even more. I actually haven't noticed. I actually don't know what the affixes are next week. I know we are like, cycling back, and this has definitely been the easiest push week, which also is why I've been able to get KSM this fast. But yeah, I'm excited, and I hope you guys will continue to watch. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video and just this series, and subscribing and commenting and liking and everything. And I just can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Okay, take care everyone.